All right. Well, for anybody who's watching, hello, and thank you for coming tonight for the candidate chat. And tonight, as you can see, my guest is Doug Sprouse, Mayor of Springdale, for going on 12 years, right? Or this is your 12th year? Yep.
That's right.
So he's running unopposed this year again. And as we were talking about before we started, that says a lot about his leadership, I think, that he hasn't drawn an opponent in all that time.
Or nobody wants it. It's one of those two things. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's right. That could really be a thing. I have some questions about how the county and the city work together. I guess I've been voting for you every year, I guess, that you've run since we've lived here. We've been here 14 years.
Thank you.
So I think I've been voting for you every time, and I've been pleased that you've been such you seem to be a mayor who really wants to try to listen to all voices and represent all. And even though there was that whole scuffle last year about the pro-life city that you heard my voice on,
Yeah.
Other than that, I feel like this city that you have tried very hard to make this an inclusive city, and I appreciate that. So there's definitely work to be done, but one person can't do it all. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. So let me go ahead and just ask you the first question, and we'll start off. The first question was whether you would give us a little update on the state of the city. We're entering our 6th month of COVID-19 in the United States and Arkansas. So who are you hearing from most, and how are the needs of our citizens being addressed? I know that we had the 2 mask giveaways. What else is happening on the city level?
Right now thankfully the spike we've been on a downward trend. Now it's perked up a little bit with the university opening. I'm talking about for Washington County.
Right.
Springdale's numbers have been down for a while. Our hospitalizations, when I talk with the leadership at Northwest, they've been drastically down in people that have the need to be hospitalized. I was talking with Eldon Alec, our Marshallese consulate, last week. There's not been a Marshallese, one of our Marshallese residents in the hospital since I think July 25th. So, and they really got hit hard, and it was a big concern for us. Our Latinx community also did, and so, but I think I really do believe, just because of looking back on the timing, that the mask giveaways really did help. People really, they were gone in a matter of a couple of hours, both times we gave them away, and I'm really thankful that the council approved that, and we were able to purchase those. So the numbers are much better now. We'll see what hopefully, based on the last couple of days, hopefully even the university uptick has peaked, but it's way too early to tell that. And it really just depends on how everybody behaves, how we pretty much know what we need to do. And if we'll just take the personal responsibility to do it. But thankfully we hope the worst of it is behind us. The much less important part of this whole COVID episode is the financial part, which certainly counties and cities and we've fared very well there too. We were expecting some really drastic drops in sales tax, some really drastic drops in state turnback, which is mostly generated by fuel tax. And of course, with people, the expectation that people would be traveling less and driving less, not as many people, more people working from home, that sort of thing. And But really, we have fared very well, as I think the county has as well. Much better than expected. Much better than. But we planned for the worst. We early on we identified places where we could make cuts and make adjustments to our budget, and thankfully, most of those have not had to come to pass. So we're very thankful for that portion. Certainly, the illness and the loss of life. I mean, I've got family members who have had this, not immediate family, but family members and relatives who have passed, and then there's those, and it's affected so many things and so many people. Just if you have someone in the hospital, it may have nothing to do with COVID, and you can't, visit. My almost 95-year-old dad passed away about a month ago, and everything's different because you can't. Thankfully, by the time he got to hospice, we were able to go in and be with him. But it just really makes you think of those things and the way people are affected that maybe you don't realize unless you're in that situation or know people in that situation. And so you just hurt for a lot of people who've had to deal with this, and so many small businesses and businesses. I really do not understand how our sales tax, we have not had a down month of sales taxes compared with last year, even through this 6 months of COVID. And I know businesses are hurting. I know many of our restaurants, I'm calling it the COVID body, because I've gone to every restaurant I could go to and gotten takeout or we've really tried to support our small businesses and our restaurants, and especially. And, but most thankfully, hopefully are hanging on, and now that they can open a little bit, and, but it's been I think, even though our overall economy has fared well, I know there are a lot of individuals, and especially small businesses, who have, and people who've lost their jobs, who have not fared well personally, and we need to try and support them as well. We were fortunate to, we are what's known in the CDBG world, Community Block Grant Development, federal program, and we are an entitlement city, as Fayetteville is, as Rogers is, and I don't think Bentonville participates in that, but we were able to. We usually get about $800,000 a year. We usually use most of it for housing rehab for lower income homeowners, and we do that every year. This year we got an additional $480,000 for COVID related impact. So a lot of our we were able to distribute all that. I think we wrote the last checks about a week ago. Several of our nonprofits, those who provide resources, rent, help with rent, utilities, those types of things. Most of it went to those types of programs. And then we were pleased to find out this week that we're receiving another $400,000 plus of a second tranche of COVID related, again, CDBG money. So it's pretty targeted and pretty limited in how it can be spent, but that money can continue to help those who are struggling through this right now because of maybe a loss of jobs or just struggling because it's a tough time for a lot of folks. So we'll look for ways to work with other providers and nonprofits to help distribute that as well. So we're doing much better than we thought we would when this all first started. But hey, we don't know how long it's going to go, and we hope we're on the backside of it, the downhill side, but we don't know that. We don't know. Now they're talking about, every year they talk about the flu. flu season. And I'm debating whether to take my first ever flu shot or not this year, so,
Yeah.
I've just always, I hate to start because, and I've always, I've always been okay. I haven't had the flu for about 5 or 6 years, but I've never had a flu shot, but I'm seriously considering it this year. So, so anyway.
It goes on very much longer. I think, I have visions of Mad Max and Blade Runner, everyone running around with crazy helmets on. And
Yeah.
that to be a little further in the future.
I tell you, I really miss seeing people's expressions and faces and shaking hands or giving hugs and hopefully I think we'll be back to the, some people call this the new normal, but I hope it's not. I hope we get past this when it's safe to do so. And
I hope so too. I'm not interested in any kind of vaccine that comes out before the end of the year, but I'm hopeful that at some point we will have one that's trustworthy.
Right. Well, I'm not sure I'll feel any better about a vaccine at any time any more than I do a flu shot. But I'm not anti-vaccine at all. I just I like to be sure I need those things before I take them. I like for the old body and the natural ability to build resistance. I like that when we can do it. But it's kind of a crapshoot, anyway.
My kids ate off the floor if they had to. I'm all about natural immunity. But,
right.
I haven't taken a flu shot in years either, and I don't get sick very often at all. But we'll have to just see what the efficacy of one would be and what the pros and cons. So let's get into how Springdale. Okay, first of all, let me explain for anybody watching who doesn't understand even what a justice of the peace is, because I've had so many people. Even one of my brothers was like, "Well, you don't have a law degree. How are you going to be a JP?" So I was like, "Well, I guess in some places that might be necessary, but not here." So a justice of the peace is basically the same thing as the city council for the city, managing the budget, doing, making decisions about hiring and position and, employment positions, and mostly just managing the budget. And that's what the justice of the peace is on the quorum court. They are the oversight for the county budget. They help make decisions about things like, this last year they talked about buying radios and things for emergency personnel and stuff like that. So anything that affects roads, land zoning, stuff like that, that all comes through the quorum court, just like it would for the city council. So with that said, I am curious about how exactly, since my district is fully in the city in the city of Springdale, how does the city and the county work together? That's most often, how do they work together? How do those two?
Okay. Well, first of all, from the 50,000 foot level, we work together very well. And but we and let me back up just a minute, because Springdale's a little unusual, just like Elm Springs is. We're two cities in Arkansas. There may be others, but not very many others, where we actually have incorporated city residents in 2 counties. Okay. Probably about 10, we'll know for sure after the census, but probably 10 to 15% of Springdale residents are now in Benton County. Right. So we are blessed. I say it as a joke sometimes. We're blessed to get to work with 2 quorum courts and and 2 county judges. But we really do. Both county governments function very well. Not exactly the same, but very well, and are good partners with the cities, with the municipalities. We are. I think the 2 areas that stick out to me the most that we actually work with are roads, and we've partnered on roads with the county before. Sometimes we might have a road where the county is on one side, unincorporated county is on one side, and the city is on the other, and we'll partner with road projects or a bridge, or we go together to apply for a grant, for those types of things. I think the biggest area, though, as far as day to day, is going to have to do with our courts, with law enforcement. Between the sheriff's office, the county prosecutor, and our district court, and our city attorney. Those are probably the more just day in, day out. That's probably the area that we have to interact the most. There are other areas. There are, everyone, whether they live in a city or not, is a county resident. That's why the district that you're seeking happens to all be in Springdale. Some are partially in a city, partially not, in unincorporated. Some are all in unincorporated, but they're all county residents. And I've had to remind some quorum court members in the past, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, when talking about certain issues that might be detrimental to the city, that, well, you're representing you're on the quorum court, you're working, for the county, but you're representing those people who put you in office, who happen to all live in the city, in your case, or in some other cases. That's not always the case, but so it can get a little conflicted. I think I can imagine as a quorum court member that it can get a little conflicted, because you're really charged with doing, you've got a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for that county and make those decisions. Yet sometimes that can conflict with what may be best for the city, which includes the people that you're directly representing. So it can get a little, all decisions are not black and white, and all are not perfect, and there are trade-offs, I'm sure, just as there are for city council members and many decisions I have to make. I'll give you an example, because this is something that may come up again. The road millage, the portion of the sales tax that and street turn back that comes to cities versus what stays in the county. The county, there was talk of this a couple of years ago, a few years ago. It's actually kind of been an ongoing thing, and we've always been able to stop it. But there's a procedure, a decision the quorum court can make that would maybe reduce the city of Springdale's and the city of Fayetteville's available road millage by over $1 million, sometimes possibly up to $2 or $3 million, if that decision's made. And that's the situation where I've had to remind quorum court members that represent the residents of Springdale also that wouldn't be a good thing. And that also comes back to the idea that we're all county residents. And most of the roads are in cities. And so most of the maintenance for roads are going to be on the cities. So I think hopefully that split, the way it's set up now, will continue. I do know the county has some long-term concerns, especially as we'll see what the results of the census are, but every 10 years at the decennial census, after the decennial census, the county loses residents, or loses the overall percentage of residents. May not lose residents, but a higher percentage then lives in the cities. And so that affects the county's ability to return services also. And we all, while we're all county residents, we all depend on the county for services. We've got county assessor. We all have to go to the county courthouse or thankfully online now, many things we can do, but we all have to deal with the county, you know, and it's just, that's the way the Constitution's set up in the state, and that's the way the statutes are set up. And I know we'll probably touch on a discussion about the jail before we're finished, but you know, that's another area where the county is ultimately charged with that responsibility, not the cities. And so anyway, those are some areas that we work together, and we really do work together very well. I'm a past president of the Arkansas Municipal League. It's an association. It's a advocacy organization, probably one of the strongest in the state as a municipal league. I'm sorry, strongest in the country. All 500 cities are represented by the municipal league. But there's another organization, Association of Arkansas Counties, who does the same thing for all 75 counties in the state of Arkansas, and helps draft legislation and advocate for legislation, lobby when believe it or not, sometimes legislators come up with things that are not good for cities or counties, and so we you know, and I'm a past president of the municipal league, and I know the first year that this has been 3 years ago when I was president. Don Zimmerman, who was the executive director of the league at the time, Don has since passed and been replaced by a long time employee of the league, Mark Hayes. But Don and I went and visited with Chris Valines, he's the executive director of the Association of Arkansas Counties, and we sat down and we talked about legislative goals, and because there had been a lot of this sometimes on certain issues between cities and counties, and that has improved. I'm not saying I improved it, but I'm saying that's when a move really started to really work more closely together, cities and counties, for common goals, because a lot of the legislation we were seeing, we were concerned about the move away from local control. We experience that almost every legislative session. While a lot of people, when they're running for the legislature, talk about the importance of local control, sometimes when they get there, some of the things they propose do the exact opposite of local control, and so that's been a thing that counties and cities have recognized that is not good for either, and so there's a lot of legislation that we work on together as counties and city organizations. So that's gotten so much better, and I think counties and cities, as far as working together, are probably in a better place than they've been in a long, long time. Not to say we won't disagree sometimes. You know, you brought up the pro-life resolution that our city council passed last year, and you know, we don't all agree on everything. In fact, I had a guy tell me one time, it was when I was much younger, he said, if everybody's always agreeing on everything, then somebody's not thinking. And I think that's true. And so even though counties and cities will disagree, you know, be it cross purposes sometimes, they still have found a way to work very well together. The opioid litigation is another example. Cities and counties have banded together all across the state of Arkansas to go after the bad players who have exploited the availability of and abuse of opioids, and that's a huge deal. and a lot of people, and most people, most people that has affected, it started innocently. They were, and they were trying to deal with a pain issue or something, and and it's just a terrible thing, and it's impacted so many people's lives, and so, but that's another area that counties and cities are working very closely together on.
So do you, when things, I assume that you kind of keep track of what's happening on a county level, and do you reach out to your county, to your JPs? Because there's several that would represent parts of Springdale.
Sure. And you really touched on something when you set all this up, when you were just giving your introduction at the first, is that a lot of people don't understand and don't take seriously enough the way JPs, how important it is that they're engaged with their JPs and with the county government. We don't, especially those of us that live in cities, we don't pay as much attention to our county government as we should, and because those are big decisions that impact all of us, and I think that's true even today. I get the same question about. I've got a friend who said, "Well, I saw Judge Wood. He's not a judge. He's not. He, just like, yeah. So, well, he's a county judge, and so anyway, we need to do better probably at making sure that people understand how important those positions are and how they impact our lives every bit as much as a city council does.
I agree. One of the things I've been harping on on my page, or whenever I have somebody's ear, is to talk about down ballot races, and right. get past the city council and keep going all the way right. down, because right. they all matter. And when people get frustrated with presidential elections being electoral college decided it, but those local ones, I mean, Megan Godfrey will tell you she won by 29 votes. And so right. those local elections, every single vote counts. So
it sure does.
Okay. So my next question on my list is, let's see. Well, you kind of touched on this a little bit. I asked what challenges Springdale has faced in the past when dealing with the county, and what you think the issues that still need work might be. And I guess this would be something like communication, or you talked about how you've had to kind of remind people that, hey, you're working for folks in the city too. Are there any challenges that a potential JP should be aware of that they might want to help make better?
Well, and again, I think we're probably going to touch on it later, but this the jail issue and other issues surrounding how the jail works, is going to continue to be a big issue, and it's an issue that's got to be dealt with, and I'll get into that whenever you want to, but it's that's probably the biggest. That's the elephant in the room right now, I think, as far as impact to our residents, and that's going to take some real leadership and some real, because it's depending on what's done, it's going to take the political will to raise some money, and at least a portion of the solution is. The whole solution isn't more jail space, but jail space isn't part of that solution, and it can't be avoided, in my opinion. But there are a lot of other there have been some good programs. I kind of think I know that the Quorum Court just got their study that laid out something. I haven't had a chance to look at it, and I've read a newspaper account of it, but I haven't looked at it. But I know from what I saw in the news, it does reiterate the importance of a jail expansion, but it also, I think those who've advocated for some things like the ombudsman program, the bail project. I mean, it's kind of an all of the above approach. I think we do need a lot of tools in the toolbox. The crisis intervention unit that the state, they put I think 4 in the state, and 1 is in Fayetteville in Washington County. I think those are all great things. We do everything. Our district court, very good. We honestly try and do everything we can to keep from somebody having to actually go to jail. We do a lot of community service. We do a lot of we do ankle monitors, and I say the court's kind of separate from me, and I don't get too involved in that at all. But I do know that Judge Harper's very creative in trying to, because we don't want to send any more people down there than we just have to. Now, obviously, there are some people that are a danger to themselves or to the community, and that has to happen. But I think we need to continue to look at all the options. But having said all that, we're going to have to deal with the space issue at jail. So even with all those other options, that's my opinion. So anyway, I probably jumped way ahead there. But you asked what the big issue is, and for me right now, that's it. Probably the biggest one. Yeah.
That's okay. And we will talk about that a little bit more in a minute, because I have questions about Springdale sending prisoners to the, So, but first, let me stick this question in too, and I'll put my reading glasses on. So what are some concrete ways that a justice of the peace that lives in Springdale can do to facilitate good communication? Do you have like regular meetings with justices, with the JPs, or
I actually don't. I would love to do that. I think that would be a great idea. Okay. Well, what you're doing right now is good. I think what you're doing right now tonight is great. But yeah, regular meetings. Now I got to say, Judge Wood, we have a monthly meeting, all the mayors, Washington County mayors, with Judge Wood. So he's been very good about that and communication. But I do think more interaction with the quorum court would be welcome. Yeah. And I'm saying that like, I think it's a great idea, but I haven't initiated that either, unless there's a particular issue, and then I call that quorum court member and ask to talk about something. But I think more of a regular ongoing dialogue would be very helpful.
I feel like, I feel like as a candidate, as any candidate, like you said, you represent the people who put you in office. You also have to, I believe, represent the people who didn't put you in office. I think that's important as the people who put you in office, because when it comes down to it, they all interact with each other and live together in the same community. So whatever decisions have to be made there's always going to be decisions that have to be made that somebody is not going to get what they want. But I think when the consideration is at least there of how can we do this for the best, for the most people, I think that's the best we can do. And so to me, talking to not just the people on the ground, which is vital, but also the leadership that sees another level, like you said earlier, the 50,000 foot, the view from the top or the view from above, where you're taking in things that people in my neighborhood aren't going to know all of the details of everything that Springdale as a city is managing throughout the city. So having all of those perspectives, I think, is just it's a no-brainer to me. So I'm happy to do it. Okay, so let's get back to the jail. So I came into this into the race last fall, and they were already well into the discussion about expansion of the jail, and I think that the survey, the thing that they paid for, was already underway. And then Springdale, during the time that I was going to some of those meetings, we started taking all of our prisoners to the Washington County lockup. So tell me what necessitated that, and how did that decision happen?
Okay, well, I'll start with a little background.
Okay.
Springdale, that we were basically operating a 1950s era jail. We weren't keeping any felonies. We were, it was kind of a 24-hour jail. You know, it was a place to put people that weren't going to be there very long.
Was there a man named Otis who would come in and just get drunk and lock himself in there?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking in my head.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay,
That's good. But yeah, leave the keys on the door. Yeah. So, but we, probably between 3 and 4 years ago, when we really first started talking about asking the voters to approve a new police facility, new court facility, new IT is in there, new city attorney's offices, and a renovation of the existing city hall. When we first began to get that design, we received a Walton Family Foundation Design Excellence Grant for the design. So it saved the
It looks
voters,
amazing.
yeah, saved the voters. Thank you. It saved the voters of Springdale about $3.5 million just taking the design off the table. But we knew that we were going to be closing our jail as part of this project. We've talked about closing the jail for years, ever since I've been here in 2008, and for many years before that. There are very few, I'm sure you could count them on one hand easily, municipalities in the state of Arkansas that still operate a jail. Because again, it goes back to the counties. The county is statutorily responsible for that.
Okay.
And so Springdale, we're just the last ones up here to stop. And so we get the attention, and all of a sudden, if in some people's minds, we're causing Washington County to be overcrowded. It's not that at all. And you know, the numbers we're adding, again, because we try and do everything we can to transport as few prisoners as we can down there. The impact on the numbers is pretty minimal. And you know, Fayetteville for years has paid Washington County to take their prisoners. It's a little easier from Fayetteville. You know, the transportation costs are
Right there.
yeah, we've got to drive from Springdale to South Fayetteville. We've also got to take prisoners to Benton County too, by the way, based on
Right.
what I mentioned earlier. But we actually met with the judge. I think it was Judge Wood. I think he was already in office, but I remember having these discussions with Judge Edwards too, who, by the way, was also very good to work with, and Sheriff Helder. And we gave about 3 years notice saying, look, if this passes, we're going to, and we told them what year we would probably be closing our jail. And that's when, because we wanted to give the administration and the quorum court plenty of notice that this is coming, and you're going to need to be planning on this. And still, you know, nothing's really been resolved. So we're going to muddle through it. And but yes, that's how the Springdale jail closed. That's why it closed. And again, we were the only ones still doing it up here. And it's just been a matter of time, and building the new facility really gave us the opportunity and created the need for us to close that jail. That jail, as I said, it was a 1950s model, and we were really struggling to make sure, you know, when inspection time came, to make sure we were doing everything we needed to do, because it was in reality, it was more of a holding facility than you know, but still, to bring that up to the standard that it really needs to be would have been a very expensive proposition. And again, it's ultimately the county's responsibility. And we wanted to help any way we could, as far as, you know, giving the county plenty of time. And we felt like we did that, but politically it just has taken the Quorum Court a long time to come up with a solution. And that's not all bad. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the programs that have been put in place probably may not have come about if they'd have just said, okay, well, let's just add more space, you know, because there are people that don't need to be in jail. There are people that have other issues and there are other ways, and so, but still, you know, we've more than doubled in population since the last jail cell was built at Washington County, and it just stands to reason that even with all the other programs and the other ways to try and mitigate the overcrowding, we're not going to avoid the need for more space.
So when you said that there are some challenges that you gave plenty of, or what you believe to be plenty of time for the Quorum Court to, excuse me, to be ready, but there's still some challenges. Is that just the indecision to create more space? What are some of those challenges?
I think you had people, I think we're sitting where we are today because we had people from both ends of the political spectrum on the Quorum Court that couldn't make themselves approve funding for jail, because you had it is, and you had the folks on one side of the political spectrum that say we're not going to ask to raise taxes.
Right.
And then you have the other side that said, we don't want to put more people in jail. We don't want to build more space. Yeah. So we were just kind of, and then you had some kind of in the middle from that recognized that we're going to have to do something. So hopefully that's all, you know, we've had the latest study now, and hopefully that will give the Quorum Court some of the data that they need and the information that they need to make a decision. The cities will, you know, and I made this commitment to Sheriff Helder and to Judge Wood years ago when we were bringing this to them, that look, we're going to do this, but we will support whatever you need to deal with this issue. And our council has passed a resolution to support the county if and they're asked for whatever portion they need to ask, you know, in order to get this built, whatever the expansion needs to be ultimately. So our support is there because we know it's an issue that's got to be addressed. And so if you're on the Quorum Court, well, this will certainly be an issue you'll be dealing with.
I need to get up to speed.
Yeah.
And just I'll say on the record, I know that a lot of folks think that Democrats just want to throw money at everything, but that's not the case. And I do not want to have to be, you know, in a first term as a JP and voting to raise taxes, but I do understand the need for proactive, progressive growth and being smart with the money that's being brought in by, you know, nobody wants to pay taxes, but we have to be smart about making the choices that are priority for our community. And I think safety is one, but I also think when we talk about community safety, it's not just about taking people off the streets. It's those people deserve to be safe as well. So I think that's the balance for law enforcement, is keeping the people who need to be off the street, but also keeping the people who are the subjects of those 911 calls, keeping them safe as well. So
Absolutely. I agree.
it's tough. It's tough.
Mhm.
I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I like this?
I tell you, hey, and listen, Lord, in the age of COVID,
Oh yeah, it's all different.
whatever anyone decides about anything, it's going to be wrong. So I mean, school, no school, whatever we decide, there are no easy decisions right now. And I just, I ask people sometimes, hey, let's just give each other a little more grace. We're all trying to do what we can, and it's a tough time. But
yeah.
Well,
I think that's a great way to end this with grace. So
okay.
I went through my questions. Do you have any questions for me, or do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I really don't. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope I've been helpful as far as giving those who see this and you some good information. And just my perspective for what it's worth. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Doug. I really
All right.
appreciate it. I know you have somewhere to be, so I appreciate you taking the time. And I will definitely be setting up some times after I am elected to come and chat with you about how we can work together. I want to hear all the voices, so I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Lori. And thanks to everyone. Appreciate it.
You bet.